Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
In the last 24 hours in Jammu and Kashmir, an army major killed, 2 soldiers killed, and today 2 terrorists killed. This exposes the challenges in the state for security forces as well as for the government, and that is what we are discussing today in the second episode of our new daily show, Government Matters, with me, Ruhi Tiwari. To talk to us today, we have with us our defense expert, Snehesh Alex Philip. Snehesh, before we go into the policy aspect of it or talk about the challenges that lie ahead for the government and for the security forces, just can you give a quick recap to our viewers about the last week in Kashmir? Why has it been a bloody week? What has really happened?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, Ruhi, the last 1 week has been a bloody week as far as Kashmir is concerned, because in the last 1 week, we've lost 6 police officials, including 5 from the CRPF and 1 SHO of the Jammu and Kashmir police. He was known as the bravest of the brave. Then you had an encounter in which we lost a major of the Indian Army, and which was again followed by another attack in Anantnag, in which it was a car-borne improvised explosive device targeting a convoy of the 44 RR. And in that attack, sadly, 2 of our soldiers succumbed to the injuries early morning today. There was another encounter that happened today in Anantnag, and 1 soldier was also killed in this action. And among the 2 terrorists killed today included the one called Sajjad. You know, he was an OGW, that's an overground worker of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. He was the owner of the car which was used to target the CRPF on 14th of February this year. And
in the Pulwama attack.
In the Pulwama attack. And he was among one of the 2 who was killed today by the security forces today, Ruhi.
Okay, Snehesh, so asking you this in a very layperson context, just to understand, what does it mean about the Modi government's Kashmir policy? Because we do know that the last election was fought entirely on the issue of national security, at least to a very significant extent. And soon after elections, we see this bloody week in Kashmir. What does it mean?
Well, you know, since you mentioned this word, the Kashmir policy, I think one would really have to think aloud whether there's actually a Kashmir policy as far as this government is concerned. Remember, I would like to divide Kashmir, the ongoing operation in Kashmir, into 2 parts.
Right.
One is from a tactical point of view. Remember that the security forces, which includes the army, the CRPF and the Jammu and Kashmir police, are there for tactical operations. Their job and their agenda is to every single person who picks up a weapon against the state. Over the last 2.5 years, over 300 terrorists have been killed today in Jammu and Kashmir.
Sure.
Well, it's not just the foreign fighters, Pakistani fighters, who are picking up arms. You know, you have a huge element of radicalization that has taken place in Kashmir. Pakistan over the last 3 years has worked out on a policy wherein which they are ensuring that radicalization increases, and this is a matter of concern. This year itself, thankfully this year only about, as per the official figures that I've gathered so far, is that only 40 youngsters have joined the terror ranks. This is much less in comparison to what happened in 2018 or what happened in 2016, that is post Burhan Wani episode. But remember that these are for tactical operations. But are we winning Kashmir? Well, sadly, the answer to that question is, personally, I feel we are not.
Sure, but the point also is that the Modi government in its last 5 years had a far more muscular approach towards Kashmir. Now, going forward, given the fact that the results on that count have been iffy, to say the least, going forward, do you think they would change their line, they would change their strategy?
Well, as far as the muscular policy towards terrorism is concerned, it should continue. There should not be any letdown in the operations that are going on.
Not about should, do you think they will?
But at the same time, remember that it was the Modi government which had appointed an interlocutor.
Right.
And the interlocutor had gone out and reached out to large sections of the Kashmiri society. He had even said that he's open to talks with the separatists for that matter, which is contrary to what, one would think a Modi government would do. So, I think what will happen in the future is that it would be a continuation of the same hard approach towards terrorism, not just by the security forces, but by the NIA and the Enforcement Directorate. And at the same time, I think one way or the other, they're going to push in an initiative wherein which talks would be held, and an attempt would be made so as to assimilate the youngsters into the mainstream and not help that feeling of alienation to increase.
Right. Snehesh, if we were to compare how Vajpayee dealt with Kashmir, he had a slightly different approach as compared to how Modi has dealt with Kashmir. Can you strike a kind of contrast?
Well, Vajpayee's policy of Kashmir also has its ups and downs. At the same time, so does Modi's all-out approach so far now has his own ups and downs. Sadly, every prime minister, every person who becomes a prime minister of the country, always has this feeling that, tends to have this feeling that, they will end the Kashmir problem and they will solve the Indo-Pak issue, but that's something not happening. And that's why I say we need a consistent Kashmir policy. It cannot be done at the whims and fancies of politicians or, based
changing
on
regimes.
changing regimes or based on a particular situation at hand. I think we need a long-term approach for it, and it needs both tactical as well as a strategic level. While operations are carried out against terrorists, every step should be taken to ensure that the political class and the civil administration rises up to the occasion and bridges the gap that is there in the Kashmir society.
But as far as the long-term approach is concerned, the UPA had 10 years and now this Modi government has had 5 and will have another 5. So that could have been accommodated. But anyway, moving forward, the Amarnath Yatra is scheduled to begin next month. Are we looking at a difficult summer?
Well, there's no doubt about the fact the last 1 week is a clear indication of the fact that the summer is going to be really heat up in Kashmir, and that is a matter of which is a matter of great concern. The first main focus for the Kashmir administration, along with the forces, would be the Amarnath Yatra, would be to ensure that there are no incidents which target the yatris. That is something that needs to be really taken care of.
And how do you think they would do that? I mean, is there a strategy in place?
There is a strategy in place. This forces, the governor has also already undertaken a number of review measures that have been taken. You have the police, the CRPF, as well as the army working in coordination with each other. Extra men are being put in place for the yatra. So, hopefully the yatra should happen smoothly. Post the yatra, another big initiative, another big aim that they have is to hold the elections in Kashmir.
Right.
I think it is very important, Rui, while we talk about forces, while we talk about the operations, for the elections to be held in Kashmir.
Right, so that was actually going to be my next question, that the Election Commission is trying to look for a window for elections in Kashmir before the onset of winters. How difficult do you think that is going to be given the current environment in the state?
Well, holding a peaceful election in Kashmir is a challenge.
Right.
Now, a challenge doesn't mean that it can't be done. Elections need to be held, without the, the umbrella of fear engulfing the entire process. I think that is something which needs to be done.
Snesh, very quickly, just before we end, one thing you feel the Modi government should adopt in Kashmir, or one strategy they should have, which they did not in the last 5 years. Over the next 5 years, what is it that they can do?
What the Modi government also needs to do is reach out to various segments in the Kashmir society, right from the youngsters to the elderly, and make them, take away the sense of alienation from them.
Right, and also I suppose raising the pitch because of elections and going shrill on the issue does not quite help matters at all, which a lot of BJP leaders tend to do.
Well, that's what all political leaders tend to do, be it the Mehbooba Mufti or be it BJP or be it National Conference.
Sure. Well, that was Snehesh telling us that what the government needs, or what any government in India needs, is a long-term policy for Kashmir to ensure a long-term solution. Thank you so much for watching, and do keep track of us on our new show, Government Matters, every day, Monday to Friday.